Hey, it's Jim Ostrowski back with the Liberty Moving Podcast. I haven't made too many videos recently. I've been swamped with the law practice, but I'm coming back up for air. So I decided to do a series of short videos on gun control. It's obviously has emerged as the leading issue in the country right now due to the two, actually several mass shootings that have happened. So I wrote a book about the subject called The Second Amendment Works. It was published right before the lockdown, so it kind of got lost in the shuffle. So the book has a completely sort of reconstructs the issue from scratch because the way the issue was being discussed sort of guaranteed that those who favor the right to bear arms would lose, which is sort of makes sense because the people who don't support the right to bear arms are the ones that sort of created the framework of discussion. So I decided to reshuffle that deck in the book. And so in this series of short videos, I'm going to get into some of the argumentation that I'm using to defend, what's our most important right, the right to bear arms. So it basically, my view is that the current debate is shallow, superficial, off the mark. So that's why I'm doing these short videos about what I think is basically the most important political issue, other than war and peace, but it's connected to war and peace. So let me start out. In each video, I'm going to go through one sort of set of facts and statistics of relevance to the issue, and I have my sheet prepared. It's not going to be a long video, but I want to start out with just going through some assumptions or principles that I use to approach the issue, just so you know where I'm coming from and you're not sort of surprised. So the purpose of the right to bear arms is to deter government tyranny and to protect the sovereignty of the people. Understanding that that's the purpose, when you look at the empirical data, it's quite clear that it works. The Second Amendment works, hence the title of my book. Gun control advocates game the statistics and ignore the purpose of the Second Amendment because they have no actual rebuttal to it, and the evidence is overwhelming against their position. We need to look at the broadest possible statistics of social well-being and pay less attention to various micro statistics on so-called gun violence if we are to reach the truth about guns. It doesn't mean that any particular human tragedy is less important than any other human tragedy. But the point is, if you don't look at all of the statistics and the big macro statistics that sort of contain within themselves lots of important data, then you're basically saying, well, I'm going to ignore these major tragedies over here, and I'm going to pay attention to these statistically smaller tragedies over there. That obviously makes no sense. We need to pay more attention to when people vote with their feet on guns and less attention to how they vote and how they answer polls. We'll get into that in detail. Finally, gun control is a species of the genus progressivism. In other words, it's a form of emotional therapy masquerading as an ideology. I wrote a book on that. I'm not going to go through that in this particular episode. With that, we want to talk about today and briefly is how people who live in violent countries respond when given the option to move to the most heavily armed country on earth. And hence, so I have this chart. If you go to my Twitter account, Jim Ostrowski, I'll just hold it up in case somebody wants to grab a screenshot of it. It's on my Twitter page. It's on my Facebook page. We'll get into my social media at the end. So basically what I did here, and I didn't get this from anywhere. I kind of generated the statistic myself. This is my own statistic. It's not my own data. So the data is from migrationpolicy.org and Wikipedia on guns. So what I did in the chart was I listed the leading countries of origin for refugees to the United States. Those are Myanmar, Iraq, Bhutan. Not that familiar with Bhutan, in all honesty, but it's there. Democratic Republic of Congo, Somalia, Iran, Syria, Cuba, Ukraine, and Eritrea. So those are the leading source countries for refugees to the United States. To be a refugee, in theory, you have to be escaping persecution, which is usually either violence or serious threat of violence. So, and I also, in the columns on the right, rank in civilian gun ownership. Now, the United States ranks first. We're first in the world. And then the final chart, the final column is guns per 100 people. This is from Wikipedia. The United States is by far the leader in guns per capita. It's 120, not per capita, it's per 100 people. We have 120 guns per 100 people. 120 guns for 100 people. So there's more than one gun per person in the United States. So if you take the rank in civilian gun ownership, and for the sake of this video, do an average. The average rank in the world for countries who are sending immigrants, not immigrants, refugees, to the United States is 133. So the average of the countries sending us refugees, and I'm saying they're sending, I mean, obviously the refugees are fleeing, but you know what I mean. The origin country of these refugees, the average rank in civilian gun ownership is 133. In other words, not that many guns there. And then you go to guns per 100 people, and the average rank there, the average number of guns per 100 people in these refugee fleeing countries is 6.35. So as I say in the chart, which is, again, it's being on social media, for every video I'm going to do a chart. I'm calling it a meme, I guess, unless there's another term for it. So in the little summary at the top, it says, on average, refugees choose to live in a country with 19 times as many guns per capita as the country they fled. 19 times as many guns per capita as the country they fled. So I think I had some debate on Twitter. I was debating a woman who said she was an immigrant. Nobody comes here for guns. And I said, well, they don't necessarily come here for guns. They come here for things that are associated with the stability and the sort of check on government tyranny that a massively armed civilian population provides. And those checks are not present in these other countries. Not going to go, again, I want to keep this short. I wanted to keep it less than 10 minutes. Looks like it's going to be about 10 minutes. So this is the type of statistic that you don't see anywhere, you don't hear anywhere, and it's extremely relevant to the debate. The facts have been distorted. The fact of the matter is, there's many benefits from having a well-armed population. There's some downsides. There's always downsides to everything. But if you look at it totally, if you look at the people who are voting with their feet, now you could talk about public opinion polls. They don't mean anything because you have no skin in the game. You can say anything in a public opinion poll. I want a new baseball stadium. Okay, well, what are you willing to pay for it? That you can't tell from the poll. I'm voting for somebody. Well, it's again, there's no skin in the game. If you're wrong, what cost have you paid? Now, if you're in Eritrea and you choose to go across the ocean to a new country called the United States, you got a lot of skin in the game. You have your entire skin in the game. And you have every incentive to make the best decision, all the ideological bullshit cast aside, for you and your family. And the people who are faced with those dire circumstances in the third world, they want to come to the country with the most guns. And I submit there's a connection between the reasons why they want to come and the guns. It's not that I want to go over the U.S. because they have nice assault rifles. You can get assault rifles in a lot of places. So that's the point. I'm going to actually keep this short, try to keep this to 10 minutes. We're going to do a series of these, and I think they're going to get progressively more interesting. So in the next video, I'm going to take on the notion that America is a particularly violent country, because that's bullshit. So follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Substack, Truth Social, Locals, LinkedIn, and Getter. Check out my 11 books on Amazon and my website, libertymovement.org. Please subscribe at Liberty Moving on YouTube. And please ask your favorite talk show to have me on for an interview. Thank you very much.